there's one thing that this movie is missing: zombie versions of Jack and Rose. Hey everyone, this is Rabbitearsblog and welcome to another in-theater movie review series. So today's movie that I'll be talking about today is Asylum's most recent film, Titanic 666. And before I get into my thoughts about this film, here are a few words from the channel. Alright everybody, it's time to get on the social media train. Want to chat with me in 100 words or less? Then check out my Twitter account. Want to talk about movies, TV shows, and video games within the group? Then check out my Facebook account. Want to check out some of my ultra cool fan art? Then check out my DeviantArt page. Want to get the lowdown on everything that's happening on this channel? Then check all of the above. And now, we return to our regularly scheduled program. So the film starts off with the cruise ship Titanic 3 going on a cruise ship and going over the remains of the original Titanic disaster. But unfortunately, it turns out that there's a stowaway on the ship, and this woman ends up resurrecting the dead crew members of the original Titanic, and now the dead crew members of the original Titanic are plotting revenge against the crew members on Titanic 3, as it turns out that one of the crew members on the Titanic 3 had actually stolen some of the treasure from the original Titanic and is selling it on the market. So what are my thoughts about this movie? Well, I thought that this movie was okay. Now I have a confession to make. This movie was a number of firsts for this channel. First off, it was the first movie that I reviewed that came from Asylum. Second of all, this is the first MOCKBUSTER film that I reviewed for this channel. And third, this is the first film that I reviewed for tubi. So I will admit that I was a bit hesitant about reviewing this movie because this movie is a mockbuster. And for those of you who don't know what a mockbuster film is, well, here's a definition from the Wikipedia page. As stated, a mockbuster is a film created to exploit the publicity of another major motion picture with a similar title or subject. So in this case, Titanic 666 is actually a mockbuster film that was made to exploit the popularity of the original 1997 Titanic film, which starred Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. And the odd thing about this movie is that there was a movie prior to this one called Titanic 2, which was also doing the exact same thing in terms of exploiting the popularity of the original 1997 Titanic film. So that's probably why the Titanic in this film is called the Titanic 3. However, the previous Titanic 2 film has nothing to do at all with Titanic 666. And we're about to get into what makes Titanic 666 stand out from the other Titanic films. So let's get into what I did like about this film. So what I did like about this film was the premise itself. The fact that this movie is about the undead members of the original Titanic coming to life to take revenge on the crew members of the Titanic 3 was really interesting to me, because I never thought that we would actually have a Titanic movie where we see zombies or undead people, or basically ghosts in general, actually pop up and take revenge on the new crew members of the new Titanic. So that was a concept that was really interesting to me, and I did like seeing the scenes where the undead crew members are actually torturing the crew members on the Titanic 3, because it gave this movie a very creepy atmosphere, and I really appreciated that. And I do like the fact that this movie brings some more horror elements to the Titanic story, even though the original Titanic did have some horrifying moments, like when the Titanic ends up sinking. The fact that this movie features ghosts was really interesting to me, and I do like that concept of this movie. Now let's talk about some of the issues that I did have with this movie. So the first issue that I have with this movie was the CGI effects. Like, I understand that this is not a big production film, so of course it's not going to have that big budget that you would normally see in a lot of blockbuster films or in a lot of mainstream films, but some of the CGI effects, especially with the designs of the ghosts themselves, were a bit off-putting to me, and it kind of distracted me from the film a bit. Another issue with this film is that it's a mockbuster of the original Titanic film. So basically it hits all the same beats as the original Titanic film. Like, you have the crew members going on the Titanic and having a good time at first, and then the Titanic sinks when it hits the iceberg. And that's pretty much what we see in this movie too, is that you have the crew members having a fun time, and then the Titanic hits an iceberg and it sinks. And again, we've seen this happen before in the original Titanic film, so it was nothing new here in this film. But overall, I give Titanic 666 a skim it. Even though it's obvious that this film is a mockbuster of the original Titanic film, I will admit that I did like the premise of this film with the undead crew of the original Titanic coming to take revenge on the new crew members of the new Titanic. I just find it to be a very interesting twist to the original Titanic movie, and I think that if you like mockbuster films like this one, you might like this film. And again, this film was really hard to review because it's a mockbuster film, and mockbuster films are not made with the intent to be like cinematic masterpieces, so I did have a hard time trying to decide how I was going to approach this movie. But yeah, ultimately, I did find this movie to be okay. It was basically just riding off the popularity of the original Titanic movie, but at the same time, I do like the zombie scenes, so I did find this movie to be okay. So that's my review on Titanic 666, and tell me in the comments down below, have you seen Titanic 666? And if you have, did you like the movie? Did you hate the movie? And what's your favorite mockbuster film? Please let me know in the comments down below. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Rabbitearsblog, and I'll see you guys later. Hey guys, like this video? If you want to check out more crazy content from this channel, then please hit that big old colorful subscribe button. And if you're feeling extra generous, then please support me through Patreon so I can make more awesome content for this channel.